Ken is President and CEO of Consulting Resource Group International, and the topic that he'll be speaking on is the quest for purpose, a self-discovery process to find it and live it. And that's also the title of the book. Ken, why don't you come up? And also, one important thing is, do you have a photo? Do we have the photo of Ken? Because when I saw Ken, it's the first time I'd seen him without a mustache ever. And apparently he's had a mustache for a long time. So is this one of the first presentations you've done without a mustache?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. We're in for a treat. We're in for a treat then. Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. Well, welcome everybody. Is the mic working, Paul? Do we have it? Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go through a framework for people to discover their purpose in life. And if you feel, how many here have it completely figured out and you need nothing in terms of improvement in your life? Oh, everybody's got their hands up. No. So we always have something that we can improve. So I'm setting out with you today a framework based on my book, also based on an online course. And I'm just going to be touching the highlights of it. There's going to be some interactive things we're going to be doing in about 18, 19, 20 minutes from now. But in the meantime, I'm going to be going through pieces in the book, and I'll be referencing the page in the slide deck. So when we think about purpose, and we asked this question, and I appreciated your comments about, okay, I have a calling, I have an assignment. Isn't it sad on how many people really don't, especially as believers? And if you say that your purpose is the Great Commission, that's not it. What's it for you? So we're going to cover these items that are in this item list here. So let's first of all ask you this question. There was a study done by Dr. Tasha, I'll show her image here in a moment. It said, what percentage of people believe that they're self-aware, meaning that they believe they've got themselves figured out, and how I come across and your opinion of me and my opinion of self is equal? What percentage of people believe that their consciousness and self-awareness is equal to how you experience me and what you think about me and your opinion of me? What do you think the number is? Take a look at these choices. Just yell it out. 55? 95? 95%, okay? So then what she did is she took her students, and by the way, this is the book Insights, and she had them go around and interview people around these individuals, and they said, how many people had the same opinion that I have of myself about how you experience me? So what do you think the percentage of people that felt that your feelings about yourself, your perceptions of self is congruent with how other people are experiencing you? The number is, give me some numbers. 25? 27? Okay. 27.5. Thank you very much. We have an accountant at the table. 10%. That means 85% of people are delusional. They don't know that they don't know that they don't know. Have any of you met those people? Is anybody sitting beside that person right now? Oh, you can't. Okay. So when we think about purpose, I want to integrate these three concepts with you, that if we're going to be successful in life and as believers, is that self-awareness is foundational. But the next one is around self-management. You know, if I know I'm a jerk and I'm still a jerk, I'm still a jerk. So number two is, can I manage myself? And number three is, I need to look at this in totality. And I'll give you some models and different pages here in the book. So here's my story. I actually grew up on a dairy farm. I'm the firstborn male, third generation, Eastern European descent. Was there any pressure for me to stay on the dairy farm? Yes. Yeah. And when I left the farm, what were the words they used around me? I did all of this for you, right? No pressure to stay there, right? You're betraying us. You've broken the trust just to prove that I was in dairy. Yeah, this is yes. I'm 10 years old here, a little bit older, and this is the hair that I used to have as well, Rick. Okay? So this is the dairy farm that I grew up on. My grandfather founded it in 1945, and then I actually had my own dairy farm across the street. So one day I got up in the morning and I said, listen, if I'm doing this 20 years from now, looking out this window, would that be okay? And I said, absolutely not. Even though all my education and the background and the family, is there pressure for our kids and for ourselves to comply to societal kind of pressures or expectations or directions? Isn't it interesting that chiropractors have chiropractic sons and daughters who are doing chiropractic who are going down to the next generation? I'm not saying it's bad or good, but can we choose the path that he has for us? When I was in grade 9, my English teacher said I would not amount to anything because I couldn't read or write. It was when I was doing my master's degree, I discovered that I was dyslexic. So if I create some new words today, I apologize in advance. It is what it is. So as a result of that, I never thought that I would be a writer. And then there was this little invention. I know I look young, way younger than Rick. Just kidding. There weren't computers in school until I did my master's degree. And when I discovered that, all of a sudden I started writing, and there was this thing called this little red line in Word. So now, 4 million words of content later. But no way, when I was 25, could you ever have convinced me that I would be a writer. And I always knew that I was going to be speaking and doing that as part of my profession. Or, as we were talking about earlier around significance, where do we put our love in? This is my daughter's wedding a year ago. So I still had my mustache, Rick. And now, of course, we have a grandson from that situation there. So what is your purpose in life? It's to live God's purpose for yourself. But I think sometimes in our society, we have all these things that are pressuring us. You know that nearly 70% of parents, now I know Trinity's here. My wife used to work at Trinity. My kids graduated from Trinity Western. But most parents want their kids to go to university. Why? Why would you want that? Now, let me ask you this question before I get to the next slide. What percentage of parents want their kids to go to trade schools? Electrician, carpenter? What do you think the number is? You guys have said 5%. By the way, there's a little study in the bottom of that slide by CERC, which is the Canadian Career Counseling Association. It said that by your kids interacting with career counselors at high school and university, there's a negative reverse connection to that. In other words, the more they talk to counselors, the worse they're off. It's only 2% of parents want their kids to go to trade schools. 2%. So is there some pressure there? A few years ago, we're doing our certification for all our assessments in Singapore. And this is my wife standing. How many have seen the Crazy Rich Asians movie? And this is where that was filmed. And so Singapore is one of the top, 5 or 10 GDPs in the world, percentage for income. They had done a study and said, what percentage of people are satisfied at work? It was 5%. 95% were miserable or disliked their job. Only 10% of people are actually living on purpose. So purpose and self-awareness are foundational to us having sustainability, engagement, all these things. Because if I'm doing something I don't like, what's the chances I'm going to stay connected to that, or stay engaged, or stay productive, or stay fulfilled, whatever the word you might want to use? When Brendan Bouchard did his research on 1,500 high performers, the number one habit of high performers was clarity. How many have heard of the book, What Color's Your Parachute? Okay. So Richard Bowles was a friend. He's just now the late Richard Bowles. Sorry, that should be blue. I don't know why. Anyways, we're having dinner, and I'm having a conversation with Richard and Richard. These are two friends that had 100 years in the career development field. And I asked them this question: why is it that we have so many people that are struggling, don't know what they're doing, that can't make a decision around their career, don't know what their purpose is? And in unison, they answered the question and said, because people have not been willing to do the work. It takes effort, it takes engagement, it takes clarity. It takes responsibility to go to the next level. So grab your books, because we're going to go into them very quickly here. So if I'm not living on purpose, if I'm not in my calling, then how am I going to be able to do this for other people? If we look at this image on the screen, what do you think the square wheels represent as a metaphor for life? Or for purpose? Or for direction? Loud. Say it loud. Doing the same thing. Inefficiency. Doing things that you're not passionate about? What did the people at the back of the wagon see? Back of the wagon, right? Who's the person in front? Is that you as the business owner? Is that somebody leading an NGO? What do the round wheels represent? Now, this is not a test. There are very smart people in this room, but it's just a metaphor. What do the round wheels represent? The answer. Answers. Possibilities. Options. Have you ever met somebody who is a very, very, very nice idiot? And so we're looking at the round wheels. I know this is just really my progression in the last 10 years or so. Is have you ever looked at these individuals who are in the back of the wagon with frustration? Listen, idiot, your answer to your question is right there. We all done it, right? But you found out that you can't do that, right? What's our job? What's our role? What's our responsibility? Our responsibility is to help the people to see the round wheels. Whose job is it to put it on? Theirs, right? Can I put a round wheel on for you today? Or Rick? No? I can show you, but it's still going to be your responsibility on what you do and what you don't do. Okay, here's some frameworks and some ideas, some thoughts, some concepts to consider if we're going to live a life on purpose. And people around you, if you've got it figured out, then our goal, our role, our responsibility is to downstream it to other people who are struggling, who are need help or need assistance. I believe and we believe as a company that we need to play to our strengths. Developing our weaknesses is highly overrated. You know, I should not be an airplane mechanic. People are going to die. It is for sure going to happen. So I need to figure what those strengths are. Now, it doesn't mean that I can use my weaknesses as an excuse for my behavior, but I want to be able to play to my strengths as part of it. Here's a model. If you go to page 9 in the book, you will see this not in color, but as far as a framework, is that we need to develop our whole personhood on all of the different areas. If I'm going to figure out my purpose, and I speak at a lot of career conferences around the world, virtually too, that if I ask this question, what's your purpose in life? It's too big of a question for most people. They can't handle, they can't get it. It's just enormous for them. So I need to chunk it down. So there are 7 components or what we call factors in developing the whole person. What many people call personality. What's your personal style? Also, your wellness levels. You're talking about mental health earlier. I was misdiagnosed as depressed in 1988 and put on lithium and antidepressant, but I was hypoglycemic. So I was pre-diabetic instead. So I have a real passion around this area, also a diploma in nutrition and genetics. So a lot of times people will have mental health issues because they haven't taken care of their wellness. So they're not sleeping, they're all these other kind of things. Self-worth levels. You and I could have the same personality or personal style, one with high self-worth, one with low self-worth. Bottom left-hand corner, environmental systems. Think about just the dynamics of the world and expectations and where you come from and where you're growing up from. I've had 9 different sort of, I'll call it backgrounds within the company at the same time. If it's South Africa, if it's Germany, if it's Australia, if it's India, it's China. So all of these people have different sort of expectations. The center one on the bottom, which is the workshop I did in Winnipeg with Rick around values. We are nurtured by the people around us, the relationships we watch, the relationships that are modeled, the things that we listen to, the things that we engage. Input equals output. Do you know what your core values are? Your behavioral values, your motivational values, your internal values, so that you can make the right decision every time. Because a lot of times we make decisions that are really contrary to where we need to go. Emotional anchors. Do I have any event in life that actually creates a trigger for me? And then if we look in the center, because I do these workshops all around the world in mixed audiences, is spirituality. And here's what we mean by this, is your belief system matters. So sometimes people say, you know what, I don't have a belief system. I don't believe in anything. Well, believing in nothing is something, because a human being can't believe in nothing because nothing is something for you, because that's going to affect what you do and what you don't do. A lot of books in the marketplace, non-faith-based, have actually just done a cursory of this whole area of spirituality. So when Finding Your Element, and Dr. Ken had his best-selling YouTube and also book, he said, you know what, spiritual things are really of no consequence for your purpose. So what? What are you talking about? And my friend who wrote the Passion Test said, you know what, we're not going to talk about that because it's too sensitive a topic. But the reality is our belief systems, do you really matter to the Father? Does he have a positive plan for you? Those are foundational things that we need to be considering. Meaning before purpose. So we want to suggest that really this belief system, where we're at, where we come from, I get meaning from the Father. And when my friend, Dr. Andy Steiger from Apologetics Canada, wrote the book Thinking, he gave me permission to insert this into this book, The Quest for Purpose. And these are the questions that many people ask themselves and say, you know, why am I here really? So if you want to learn more about Andy, that's there. Now, a couple of things for you. Page 125 in the book. We don't have time to go in depth. I want to frame this out for you so that you, if you want to have questions later on or just get into the book more detailed later on, then that's there for you. But first of all, the concept of, or a belief system, is that motivation is a myth. How many of you here like golf? Any golfers? Okay, so it's a beautiful day out. It's going to be 18, 20 degrees for our American friends, 75, something like that. You've got a beautiful course, and I say, hey, listen, let's go play. Do you have to think about that? Do you have to force yourself to get out on that course and just be able to get your cart and hang out with your friends and do whatever you need to do? Is that interest compel? They draw, they attract us. It's not forced. Now, yes, we all have days where that's not going to be true for us, but can I be in a role and a responsibility where I'm mostly engaged? I've done 3,000 presentations. Hopefully it's evident that I still enjoy doing this. But who would have thought that would still be something that I enjoy doing? And that should be true for you as well. Now, some of you might disagree with this one, but we believe that you change maybe the form, but not the content. My purpose in life is to help others to live, lead, and work on purpose. How that's occurring, how that's happening is changing. But that core essence, that foundational piece is still there. I don't believe that the Spirit's going to come upon me and make me a mechanic tomorrow. I just don't believe that. I believe he's made me for being an encourager of others in some way or another. The other one is life's constantly leaving us clues. I don't know what I had to do. I don't know where I'm going. Well, then pay attention. Look, ask people, get mentors, get feedback. The other one is that career as a myth. How many here know how many what they call SIC or NOC codes are in the US and Canada now? Anybody know? National Occupational Codes, Standard Industry Codes. 40,000. How many here have children that are under 20? Hands up, okay? There are jobs they're going to do that aren't even invented yet. So the reality is we don't have a career anymore, we have expertise. We bring expertise to bear into the marketplace, whatever that might be, and then we transfer that. CEO of Food for the Hungry, CEO for a building company. Oh, those are related? No, it's leadership, right? So I appreciated your speak on that. The other one is, and this is so important, especially with today in society and just pressure, is our ability to say no is equally important as our ability to say yes. In many cases, it's even more important. Oh, I've got that great job. You've now got $120,000 a year as a tech at the safe company. Woo, that's awesome. And I hate my job. But I'm taking it because it's $120,000 a year. I'm not saying that's what you're going to pay me, but maybe $200 probably. Okay. When we think about some other pieces, a lot of purpose work from other providers don't include these next two items. Number one is mindset. I mean, all of us are familiar with Proverbs 23:7, or most of us are. You know, as you, he, she, we think, we are. So mindset matters. If you're living in fear, if you worry, that is not really, is there somewhere biblically, and we have the Bible app guy here, where fear is encouraged? No? Yeah, fear him, but in reverence, not fear of the world. So, true story, my kids are in high school, and they get in, there's high school racing in British Columbia. So they can do 12-second quarter miles with the high school racing teams. And so they were attending Abbotsford Christian and Abbotsford at that time. My son was chosen one year and my daughter the next year, and there's only 2 each year. And so my daughter does the fastest run in 5 years, does a 12.1, does a 0.001 takeoff time, so that's nearly perfect. And my assistant at that time says, I'd never let my son do that. So why that? He could get hurt. What is that parent going to be doing to this son constantly if I'm constantly saying you can't do it because of fear? It hinders where we want to go. If you have taken any psychology courses, this is proven in the real world through Martin Seligman. He's also approved some of his content in my book, is learned optimism as how we think and how we respond to both success and failure is predictable. It predicts our success on what we do and how we operate. When we look at character, which is really what Rick is putting these events together as ELO, is one of the reasons I left Christianity. So I grew up in a Presbyterian church. My grandfathers founded in Abbotsford. And in my teenage, early 20s, the main reason I left Christianity was other Christians. Because my dad told me, don't deal with those Christian businessmen and women in Abbotsford because they'll rip you off. That's what I was told my whole life, because you can't trust them. And so when we think about character, and that's his issue, not mine now, is these are 10 character traits that if you're living on purpose, but you're not operating in forgiveness, if you're not operating in integrity, which you were talking about earlier, this congruence, is then how could I actually really be realizing my full purpose? Forgiveness for what other people have done, just give it up, let it go. The other one is that, here we go, come on. How many of you have heard of Dr. Marshall Goldsmith? Okay, so he wrote, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And he was doing coaching with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And he said, and this is an event in New York, in I think 2019. In one of the comments, he says, Ken, I can't teach integrity. If they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, then I just disband them as a client. I can't work with them. It's done. So are we doing what we say? Do we overpromise and underdeliver, or do we keep and do we operate in integrity? And what they also proved in this research, which is biblical, is that gratitude actually contributes to well-being. Am I thankful? Am I not? Okay. Paul, I need a timer for how much I have left, because I don't know what my head's got to. I'm working around some stuff here. There's nothing here. I don't see it. Okay. So if you were to ask this question, and again, I don't know why that's not there. How many here, if you went to your doctor and you were sitting across the table from them and they said, what's your blood pressure? And they said, without putting the cuff on your arm, they said, you're 120 over 80. What would you think about that doctor? Wouldn't trust them, right? Oh, you're a bit of a quack. So the reality is that if we won't accept it in that space, why would we accept it with our staff in our team? So measurement matters. Could you go to, so Paul, I do need a time because I don't see any time here, Rick, sorry. Do you want, what I'd like you to do, 13, okay. I'd like you to go to page 139 in the book, please. Number 2 is I'd like you to identify a partner around your table. If you have an odd number at your table, then maybe reach over to somebody else because you're going to do a little bit of partner work right now. One of the things in the book is there's assessments, there's conversations, but life leaves clues, and a lot of times people can't figure out what they want to do in the direction they want to go into because they have this totality rather than breaking it down. So what we're going to do now for you, you're going to be given an activity. Everybody needs a pen, please. So grab a pen from the center of the table, and I'd like you to go to page 139 in the book, if you would, please. There's a blank sheet there, or a page there. If you have just a blank sheet, I suppose you could do that as well. We've broken down life to different components. And I'm just going to talk about these, show you a few slides here, and then you're going to do some activity. So first of all, could you identify somebody who's going to be your partner for this activity here in a moment? Make sure you've identified your partner. Everybody got a partner? Look around. Claim somebody. Okay? Claim somebody. Who does not have a partner? Who needs a partner? Okay. This gentleman needs a partner. Anybody else? They don't want you. I don't know why they're doing that, right? Okay. Okay, you could just work as a triad there if you would, please. Okay. So let me just give you a setup to your activity, and then you're going to have a couple of minutes here. So first of all, when we think about senses, what are the senses, touches, tastes that make sense for you? So this is the bamboo forest in Maui. How many of you here has taken the road to Hana? You know, it's the road to H-E-L-L is actually what it is, right? Because you've got these trucks coming back and forth, and this is a bamboo forest. This is the CF-18 demonstration at the Abbotsford Air Show, which is one of the largest air shows in North America. And while we're watching this, my son is 12 years old. He says, Dad, I'd like to fly. I'd really like to fly. Then we discovered that there was an Air Cadets squadron just a block away from our house that we never even noticed before because it was top of mind for him. He's down here at Arlington, which is the largest fly-in air show in North America, where about 1,000 airplanes fly in. He's 16 years old directing that aircraft. Then he becomes a glider pilot at Comox Air Show, or Comox Base, and then was one of 8 people in Canada to win a full ride for getting his private pilot's license. He was able to fly airplanes before he was licensed to drive cars in British Columbia. And here we're flying for our Mother's Day dinner from Abbotsford to Vancouver Island when he is 17, just going to be 17 years of age. Isn't that crazy? Because he paid attention to this flying. Now, he's a successful realtor, and one of the things he paid attention to, because he had been around us teaching this, he says, Dad, I love flying, but I'm never going to be home. And I'm not going to be with the people that I love. I want to be there. And so flying is going to be recreational, and I'm going to enjoy the real estate side. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to think about this topic of smells, tastes, touches, sounds, and sights. And in 90 seconds, list as many items that are positive and energizing for you in this blank page. And then I'm going to give you an activity with your partner. You have 90 seconds to go and just fill out this list as quickly as you can. Please. Maybe it's flowers, maybe it's the ocean, maybe it's just the smell of snow on the mountain. There's no judgment. This is your list. Fifteen more seconds. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, here's what you're going to do. With your partner now, is you're going to share your list with them, and I want you to bring the emotion, the story, all of the essence of what that means to you as you communicate to your partner. and you're going to do that for about 90 seconds or so, and then I'm going to say switch, and you're going to go back and you're going to listen to your other partner's list. So you're going to share your list, and by the way, if your partner lists something, says, oh, I should have put that on my list, you can add it. You can steal it from the other person. Okay, now the person that's going to start sharing is the individual who is the eldest out of the two of you. If you need to check IDs, that's fine. So whoever's the eldest, you're going to start sharing first. You have 90 seconds. Go. Share your list. So as you're sharing that, what was that like for you? What were you paying attention to the energy of yourself and the other person? That is true. There's no denying about that. But did you enjoy the rushed part? Okay. Did you have to work really, really hard to get the list as far as, oh man, that just burdens me, versus releasing? Okay. So when we think about being connected to our calling, our assignments, and those things that energize us, you know, some of you had things on the list. You don't know why you like flowers, but you do. Do you have to know why? No, you don't. Just know that it is there for you. Now, we're going to do one more category where you're going to make a list, but I'm just going to share a couple more things here with you on this category. Next one is places. So we're not going to do places with you, but, you know, where have you been your hangout? Here's Diamond Head. As a family, we're running up in Hawaii. I don't know why we're doing this. We have a timeshare in Whistler and just kind of hanging out together. I was speaking and doing several speaking engagements in Florida, so we said, let's go to Cape Canaveral and kind of hang out there. As I mentioned, Singapore earlier. So, you know, there are all kinds of different places that we can hang out. Go to page 151 in the book, which is experiences. And you're going to be making a list here in a moment after I give you some examples. Experiences, you know, what is it that you're doing that just really is enthralling? We've been blessed as a family. We're an adventure family. So we've gone out, and so this is bungee jumping in Whistler, motorcycle and riding with my wife Brenda, doing snowmobiling, go-karting, whitewater rafting, zip lining, renting cars at Mission Raceway and racing them. And on it goes, where these are the events that really brought our family together. I'd like you to take a moment where you put down what are some experiences in life that really you find energizing, that you find fulfilling. So you have, and you're going to be rushed, you have 90 seconds to make this list. Go. So obviously this process could be elongated and not rushed. But I wanted to just get you to get a sense of how powerful it was. And, you know, Rick's going to be having a break here in a little bit, and maybe you want to continue the conversation with your partners. But there's several different categories. There's people, there's ideas. And what we actually get you through the process of the book or the online course is to create an autobiography. I went through this in 1989. I knew I was supposed to speak, but I didn't know to who and about what. And I hired a coach out of Seattle before coaching was big. Drove down there every month for a 5-hour meeting and wrote out 50 or 60 handwritten pages, and then created what we call a word list, which I have up on the screen, and this is mine, it's in the book. And that is that these words really represent the essence of my life and my calling and my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing. Yes, there's granular ideas that come out of it, but what did Dr. Bowl say? People are not being successful because they've not been willing to do the work. Most people will spend more money on a movie or entertainment this weekend than they will on developing themselves over this content. Now, I know we have lots of, a little promotion here, Rick. We have lots of books. I don't want to take any back. So if you have people that you care about that you want to give a book to and there's still some left, please, as part of it. Now, here's some final thoughts for you. Is every single person here matters. I am just shocked of how many people don't believe that God has something good for them, that they really don't matter. I have a new coaching client. She's brilliant. She's at the top of her sort of game. And she says, I hate my job. says, why aren't you moving? He said, well, because I'm kind of in it. I'm stuck in it. She's not a believer, but one of my partners says, work with Ken as a coach. So my encouragement is that sometimes people need to borrow from your encouragement, that they are worthy, not because of anything we have done, but what he has done for us. And that he has a calling, an assignment, and a purpose for every single person here and every single person that you meet. And don't ever let somebody tell you differently. And that's why everybody here needs to live on purpose, because we need to make a difference. And if we're not in it, we're doing a disservice to him, to us, and the people around us. Thank you.